I remember like getting kind of interested in music myself. Like my brother got a guitar one year for Christmas, and he never played it. And then I kind of looked at it and I was just like, it's just sitting there, man. Like it wants to be played. Like I don't know. It's like it's like the Friends thing where it's like this bike wants to be ridden. So it's like you're taking away its soul.
Yeah,
So
you're making the bike sad.
yeah. And then she's like, okay, Ross. And then like she goes over and hugs it. That's how I felt. I was just like, oh, poor guitar, and you want to be played. Like, thank you for taking the time to come on the podcast. I wanted to start off by saying more or less I've seen like how Spotify and things work. Sometimes you see acts and they just come across your feed, and then you're like, all right, Taylor Swift, that's enough of you for the fucking day. Like I've seen 20 of yours, and that'd be
Mhm.
like Bruno Mars. I'm like, all right, Bruno, you don't do interviews anyway, so why the fuck am I seeing an ad by you? And then I was
Mhm.
like, all right, we've got independent artists up in Canada that I'm like, I know or got to know. And I'm like, that's cool. And then when I seen yours, and this is why I want to do this intro in particular. Hi, my name is Brian. This is my podcast. This is day 5 of doing interviews. No, that's what caught my eye. It was like, all right, I think it was day 2 or day 3 of music on social medias.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I was wondering like how I thought it was like through Spotify or something. I was
No,
like, I'm not
no.
sure like
Yeah, yeah,
what you saw, but that's
yeah,
awesome that
yeah.
that is how you found me.
Yeah, it was on Instagram, and then you're scrolling. I don't know. I want to predict that it was probably like 7 o'clock or so at night, and you're just scrolling, and then next
Yeah.
minute it was just like you get ads, and then I'm just like, okay, and the next minute it was just like, I don't know. It's just the way that it was presented. Because most times through Facebook, it'd be like, hey, do you like the 1975? I'm like, love the 1975, and like, you'll love my band. I'm like, fuck you. Like, no, I won't. I just know I won't. Don't.
I
I'm
probably won't.
yeah. I'm 31. I'm set in my ways. Don't try to
Mhm.
convince me otherwise,
Right.
right? But yours came across as more or less like, hey, this is Melanie. I'm a singer songwriter. It's like, and then I looked at it. I was like, okay, so this is day. I think it was like day 3 or day 4, and I was like, okay, let's see what day 2 and day 1 were, and it was the same constant of like right in your face, like, hey, this is my guitar, blah blah blah. And I was just like, I was like, man, I was like, the first question I kind of want to ask you in that is like, do you find at some point, and it's not supposed to be mean because this is just fun conversation, but when you first came up with that, were you kind of like, oh man, is this going to come across as cringy? Because I'm sure at times when you're doing that, you're like, you don't really feel overly invested, but we all know how marketing works. Where if I came across and like, hey, this is Tobin, this is my podcast, or like, why is he angry? It's his show.
Mhm.
So then I kind of have to amp it up as like, hey, this is Tobin, it's my
Yeah.
podcast. So when you came up with that, were you kind of at first like, or were you like, this is going to sell me?
No, I was honestly like, whatever. I'm really tired of like everybody is of social media. Like I hate it and don't like that you have to like you sort of are like you have to be on TikTok, you have to be on Instagram, you have to be doing these things if you want anybody to care. And part of that's true, sure, like you have to be an active musician and like be doing things, but that could be a whole number of things, not just like posting on social media. And so I was like, all right, I'm just gonna post for like a bunch of days in a row and see what happens, because ultimately for me the goal is to get to 1,000 followers on TikTok, which is not that many in the grand scheme of things, but that way you can start to go live and actually like do little live shows, essentially like live stream shows on TikTok. So that was kind of like the aim, and that's the goal. Have not gotten there yet, but also haven't posted in a long time. When I started doing that, hey, this is Melanie, here's my guitars, this is day, welcome to day
Yeah.
7 of music on social media. I was like, whatever, this is sticky enough that if people listen, if people see it, they'll be like, cool. And I just want to be like real and just want to be myself. And I'm awkward and like socially awkward. And I'm like, whatever. I'm just like this is the best I have right now.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how that was born. And then you just kind of keep doing it. But yeah, I haven't put anything out in a long time on TikTok, like a couple weeks now. Um, and I actually, the last post I made was about that and was basically like, hey, like I have wicked imposter syndrome, like most people do.
Okay.
And like it gets so bad sometimes that I'm like, when that happens, I'm like, I don't even want to, like, I don't even like want to practice. And it's really, it's like
Yeah.
debilitating.
I want to ask you, kind of getting into the music side, like tell me a little bit about like where your interest in music came from, certain artists that you enjoy, because I see that you did a cover of 1975 Chocolate for one of your
Yeah.
days, and I see like it seems like you're a big Paramore person. So I mean, like I feel like you're happy that Paramore's back.
I am a big Paramore person.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not even a fan. It's like I am just like listen. There's a fandom, and then it's just like I am a Paramore person.
Love
I
Paramore.
breathe them. I inhale them. Like anything Paramore, it's just all me, man.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan. I always have been. Since the dawn of that band, I have been a loyal follower. But yeah, I think so. Since I was a little child, is the answer. You know, I mean, my parents will tell me stories about like I used to just like scream like movie soundtracks that I knew, so like The Lion King and like Little Mermaid and stuff like that. They'll tell me stories of like I used to just like belt it from the back seat, like in my car seat or whatever. And so I've always loved singing, and then you know it evolved like as I grew. Singing was like a way I comforted myself when I was like lonely. I was super I've always been like an introvert, and you know had a smaller group of friends, and you know quality over quantity and that kind of thing. And you know anyway, singing was a way I like comforted myself. And then um, I have this theory that like I guess not I can't say everybody, but I think most people know like in their gut, in like whether they're aware of it or not, know from a very young age like what they want to do, like what they want their existence to be about. And um, there's plenty of stories, like not only myself of always being interested in music and always wanting to play instruments and sing and be in a band and do solo stuff and just write and perform, but also like my next door neighbor that I grew up with as a kid, he like loved planes and loved like the idea of being a pilot. And that dream kind of like died and or faded rather as he grew up, and now he's in his early 30s and he's a pilot and he's like really going for it and is like doing all of the things that you have to do to become like a super successful pilot. So it's just so cool. I always get so like happy and proud when I see him doing stuff. But anyway, that's that theory. And yeah, so since I was a little kid, I kind of had the gut instinct of this is what I'm supposed to be doing.
Like, tell me a little bit about like your first guitar or the guitar you have now, like the importance of that. Because I know when at a young age, it was like, around Christmas time actually. Um, like I always liked broadcasting. I always liked the idea because like I had an older brother that would kind of annoyingly we'd listen to Casey Kasem in the car, and
Okay.
he would like instead of letting Casey talk, he would probably already heard it like earlier that day, so he recited it, and then and I'd be like, you know, you're a young age, you're like, wow, it's like you did this word for word, that's so cool. And then like years later, you're like, motherfucker, just let him talk. But I thought it was interesting, and then one year I got this like DVD or like a DJ set, and it was just like you find your radio, you put it on like a static dial, and then the thing connected where you can actually hear yourself through your own radio. No, it's like very 90s to early 2000s based. You tell that to kids today, they're like, wow, what a loser. But I thought it was like super cool. And I remember going downstairs and telling my parents, I'm like, can you hear me on the radio? Not knowing that it's only my radio because it's only hooked up. So,
Right.
so then
Okay.
they were just still like, oh yeah, you sound so good. And I was just like your mouth drops. You're like, do I sound really good? And then you go back upstairs and practice, and they're probably like, great, we got rid of him for another 3 hours. He's busy. But like in my mind, I was sold. I was like, oh, it's like this is something that clearly I sat down for like hours listening, like putting in my own Backstreet Boys CD and be like, okay, next up, I want it that way. And then someone would walk in the room and be like, what are you doing? I'm like, can you hear me on the radio downstairs? Like, oh, right. I'm supposed to pretend that I can. Like, totally. You sound so good. Like, I don't know. Like,
That's
I get it
hilarious.
because that's like my theory of, okay, that's how I kind of got into broadcasting. But like, that's
Right.
my long winded story. So feed me with yours. How did you like pick up your guitar, and like what was maybe like the first song that you're like, hey, this is why I want to get this guitar for?
Yeah, so I started singing like was super young, and would do that and would kind of like write songs of just melodies and
Yeah.
lyrics and that kind of thing. I begged my parents. I wanted an electric guitar so bad, and I wanted to be like Avril Lavigne. And she was like she was a huge like initial inspiration, and my parents were like, no, like you don't need an electric guitar. Then my dad got me this acoustic guitar. I think the place that he was working at the time, they had like a points system, so he like had enough points to get this guitar online. So it was like a
Nice.
Yamaha that was probably like $200 anyway. And it was just an acoustic guitar, and that was my first guitar. Um, that one is special. Just it's at my parents' house still. That one's special just because it was the first guitar I picked up. I've actually not like taught other people, but other people have picked up their first guitar in it being that one.
Okay.
So
Yeah, yeah.
that like that's cool too. But in terms of like first songs and stuff like that, I remember I got it and then I looked at it for like a year, maybe. Like I didn't even play it after I got it, and I was
Yeah.
like, I don't know what to do with this. Like I don't know. And I wasn't super encouraged growing up to like practice and to play and that kind of a thing. I think my parents wanted a very different future for me, so I was not heavily encouraged, and so I really didn't pick it up. And then, but when I finally did, I think I was like 14, and maybe 13, 14, something like that. And I initially like started playing Taylor Swift songs because she was brand new, and had just started to play country music. And so I was like, all right, cool. I have an acoustic guitar, country music, Taylor
Yeah.
Swift, cool. Like I'm gonna I'm gonna play Taylor Swift songs. And yeah, that's kind of how it started.
I kind of like imagine, like I know today, like if you're like talented, like you can find an acoustic way to make any song, like any pop song acoustic, and I think
Right.
that's really cool because it takes talent to do that. But I can just imagine like coming home with like you're like sitting in your room waiting for this like electric guitar, like I'm gonna be Avril Lavigne, and next minute the acoustic guitar rush, like man, I can't play Skater Boy on this. He wants a
Right.
skater. It'd be
What
like
a
more like it'd have to be like an emo song where it's just like he wants a skater boy, and you just be like, man, it's not the same punk feel. I can't smash this guitar. It's like, don't ever smash that guitar. You're like, well, yeah, I can't now. It's acoustic.
right.
But no, like it's interesting that you mentioned that because I remember like getting kind of interested in music myself. Like my brother got a guitar one year for Christmas, and he never played it. And then I kind of looked at it and I was just like, it's just sitting there, man. Like it wants to be played. Like I don't know. It's like it's like the Friends thing where it's like this bike wants to be ridden. So it's like you're taking away its soul.
Yeah,
So
you're making the bike sad.
yeah, yeah. And then she's like, okay, Ross. And then like she goes over and hugs it. That's how I felt. I was just like, oh, poor guitar. And you want to be played. So then I
Yeah.
tried to learn it myself because I had like its own book. And I don't know, I just had like fat hands, or maybe I was just like, all right, like because I have Sturge Weber, so like my right side isn't as strong as my left. So then I was trying to figure out how the hell do I hold it? Do I go with this? And I was like, fuck it, whatever. And then we also had like a piano in our house, so I was like, all right, I'll just take up piano. It's like that could be simple. And I think because I was big into Chris Brown, I tried to learn forever on piano, and I started to get used to like the beginning, and
Hmm.
then I just fucking gave up because I was just like, so because when I was like, I think I had a few friends that were in piano, like, man, you got to be like super specific with your fingers. You got to be, and I was just like, yeah, no, I'm not doing this. I'm just like, I'll just stick to being a fake radio guy. You can hear me on my own radio if you want. And they're like,
Right. I perform every night.
yeah, perform every night. You just got to come in my room and turn on the dial to like this 93.7. They're like, so can I hear it outside? No, you got to come in my room. They're like, I think this is just you trying to get girls in your room. Like, no, I invite everyone over to listen to me. Come on. Yeah. Yeah.
That is super super interesting that you said your brother had the guitar and then you started playing piano.
Yeah, yeah. It was just like it wasn't very long. It was just like he had the guitar, and I think it was just downstairs gaining dust, and I was like, all right. So I started putting that in my room as just kind of display piece because like I was just like, oh, it looks like a nice guitar to look at. And if someone came in, like I don't have a lot of friends, so it wasn't like people were coming over and be like, Tobin, play it. I was just like, it's there. If someone comes over and wants to play it, great. But it was
Yeah.
just kind of like a conversation piece, I guess. A bad one at that, because then they'd be like, play it. And I'd be like, oh man. But then I was like, man, I
I want
gotta, yeah, it's like, yeah, I kind of have to. And then when I tried, I was like, all right, fuck that. And then I just, I was like, oh, piano might be just as easy because I knew friends that played it. So then I was like, maybe they could teach me or at least, try. And then that didn't work so successfully. And then I was just like, all right, screw it. Like, I'm not going to be the music guy. At best, I'll just be like the comedian that uses music in some capacity, where it's like the Phoebe approach, where it's like, I can play Smelly Cat really bad. Like,
Yeah.
and then
You
they'll be
want to
like,
hear that?
yeah, it's like you want to hear me play guitar really bad, but I'll make jokes while I'm doing it. So then it's like the whole irony is, oh, he knows he's bad at playing the guitar, right? Yeah, but he's so good at telling jokes that
Right.
that's his stick, right? And it's like, I hope so. It's like I hope he's not actually trying up there. Yeah. And then someone will yell out, "That's that kid who plays radio in his own room." And I'd be like, "Oh." It's like, "Hey, Daryl, you made it. I want to ask you, I guess a little bit of the fun aspect here is like, I know you do your own cover, or like, I know you had covers as well, and you got your own music. Like, tell me a little bit about your writing process with that, because I know it, again, I found it interesting, and some people would be like, how do you find it interesting? I just do, because again, when it comes back to the social media side of, yeah, you kind of get exposure from doing people's covers because they know what that song sounds like. Like,
Yeah.
I know what Chocolate sounds like from 1975, so therefore I have something to compare it to when I listen to you sing it. I'm like, all right, either good or hey, what the fuck? But like when you come out with your own, it's kind of like people either like it or they're kind of like, okay, don't dig it. Like I think you did one for like day 7 or day 8 where it was like, oh, this is my own original illusions. And I was like, oh, okay, this is something different that I can kind of like seize and be like, okay, do I like the song? Do I not like it? I get to kind of judge. But tell me a little bit about that, because I feel like coming up with your own music can be both great and also can be a little bit of a pain in the ass, because there's going to be people on social media like, I don't get it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really deal a whole lot with like that side of it, where people are like, I don't get it, I don't like
you
it, and
you
most
lucky.
people,
You're lucky.
yeah, well, most people are, are respectful, but I get that a lot of people aren't, and um, you know, I love writing music. I write a lot. I mean, most everything is infused with like some sort of personal experience. That's really where I write from. So like there will be periods of time where I haven't written in a minute, and just like out actually living life and gathering those experiences, and then like I process things, and have always been like super emotional, and um, I'll process things, and more often than not they end up in songs, or some aspect of the situation will end up in a song. So
I want to ask you in a bit of a fun aspect here. Like, we kind of like to close out certain episodes with playing a game of random questions.
okay.
It's pretty, like, it's computer generated. And I lose the podcast. People love it because then I fuck off and they're like, oh, cool, he's done. But I'm just gonna let it generate here. So the first random question they have is, oh, this one's not bad. What's an artist that you would not ever want to go see?
uh Kanye West.
Kanye. Okay, that's fair. I would have probably went with like, just, I know it's a Canadian reference, and people are gonna be like, okay, bandwagon, but I don't know, Nickelback for me.
Okay.
Like, if someone had concerts or like tickets to it, and they're like, we're going to see Nickelback, I'm like, nah, man, I can tell you all their songs right here, right now. They'll be like, I know, but there's other people out there who probably be like, well, I don't want to go see Cardi B or whatever. I'm like, me neither, man. I'm with you. Like, there's a lot of ones that I want to see. Do you remember? Okay, this random question has, what is your biggest fear? The fear of being forgotten.
I mean, like we could go like really, we could go really deep here. I mean,
Yeah, that's funny. Like in eternity later.
no, for real
But
though.
yeah,
My biggest fear.
I can give you mine. Mine is, and it's not like deep because I know people will be like, oh, like the fear of, it's like the fear of no one being loved or blah blah blah. I'm like, fuck off. It's like just have a legitimate fear. Mine is, I don't know necessarily. I think it's more or less. I know people will say it's the fear of falling. Nah, it's the fear of heights. I don't like heights.
Okay.
I feel like I've gone off like a high dive in a swimming pool and looked down, and I jumped because I'm 12 and it's my birthday, and I'm a pussy if I don't. So people yelling like just do it. I'm like okay, awesome, but I think it's like when people are like no, you have a fear of falling. I'm like no, I'm standing on the top of things and I'm scared. Like if someone pushes me over, then that's the fear of heights and falling. Right now, I just have a fear of being on the top of how did I get here and why.
Yeah, yeah. Oh man. All right. So like, well, there's a lot of different ways I could answer this question. So, um, is it like like a physical fear, or is it like a super deep
You you
like
you 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 decide whichever fear you want to say. But if you say fear your own shadow, I'm going to call it bullshit.
no, that's not it.
Ah,
I guess like all right, this has gone on long enough. I'm annoyed at myself. The truly like I am terrified of. And this is gonna sound crazy, super deep. Like I said, putting myself out there and becoming successful, like getting
okay,
exactly what I've always wanted, always thought I wanted, and it not making me happy.
okay. No, I
I
feel like
think that's
that.
like that is a super like I'm still unpacking that, but
I mean,
that's a really
no,
big fear.
that is deep. But I feel like you know what? If people were honest, there's probably a lot of people that would say, I want this, I want to do this, but I'm also afraid that if I do it,
Hmm.
it's not going to be what I expected it to be. That's how
Right.
you know what? In saying that, that's kind of how I felt with broadcasting because I felt like if I went to actually work in a network, I'm like, man, I'm gonna have it made. People are gonna know me everywhere I go. People are gonna be like, man, I love you on the news, blah blah. And then there's a part of me that's like now, like 10 years after the fact of kind of doing this, I'm like, it is kind of nice to kind of be like just yourself. Yes, people know you, but not to the extent where if I go out in public, they're like, "Oh my god, he's out in public, swamp him." I'm like, "Okay, I'm just kind of trying to walk my dog."
Hmm.
Right? Some young kid comes up, like, "Can I have your autograph?" Like, just spit out a piece of paper, like, "There, spread that around. I'm an asshole, and therefore no one will come and visit me ever." The next random one they have here. This one's into the season, I guess. I guess because it's kind of Christmas related anyway. Um, what is your most favorite gift that you ever received?
um, the piano that I bought myself for Valentine's Day in 2018.
Oh, that sounds like, I mean, that kind of sounds sad.
Oh, excuse me, 2019.
Okay.
2019?
Yeah, because
20.
that's what people are really concerned of, the year that you bought it. No. Hold on now. That doesn't make sense. In 2018, I knew this girl. She could not afford that piano. But
So I think it was
2019, she could.
2018. I think it was 2018. Yes, it
Yeah.
was. Final answer.
Yeah, yeah,
It was
yeah.
2018.
No, I mean, that's a late Christmas gift.
It was a Valentine's Day gift.
Okay.
Yeah, I got it for myself, and that's actually what I wrote Illusions on.
Oh, okay. There you go.
Yeah,
A little bit of sneak peek or some info there.
yeah.
Yeah. That's I feel like for mine it would just probably be like a PlayStation system. And it wasn't even mine. It was my brother's. He's like 10 years older. He's like, "Do you want to play NHL with me?" I'm like, "Yeah." Like, ask no more. Spending quality time with my 10-year-old brother, sweet. And then get your ass kicked, and you're like, "Okay, but I get to play this more, right? So I can practice." And he'd be like, "Whatever." And I'd be like, "Cool." So yeah, that's sad. I'm sure there's people out there like, "Wow, you're greedy. You took your brother's gift." I'm like, "Man, I was old enough that I wanted one too, but young enough that they didn't want to give me one." So it is what it is. But all right, so let's see what this one says. Oh, okay. What's your favorite fast food place and why?
Taco Bell.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. Because don't judge me because I don't really for whatever reason, like it's like a once a year thing now, that I'm just like I got a hankering. Like
Okay.
only Taco Bell will satisfy it.
Nice. Okay.
And you know what else though? It's like kudos to Taco Bell because you can
Taco
make
Bell.
you can make it's easy to make like a Crunchwrap Supreme vegetarian. Like you can do beans instead of beef, and like
Yeah.
there you go. Not that I am fully vegetarian. I've teetered a lot. I was for several years, and now I'm a little and more lax about it. But I'm just not super strict. But I do prefer a vegetarian diet.
Okay.
But yeah, that's why.
All right. Fair enough. Like the reason that I said Taco Bell is because like up here I don't see a lot of Taco Bell commercials. I don't think we even have one in Newfoundland.
Okay.
We're only getting a Pizza Hut back. We used to have a Pizza Hut like 10 years ago, and
Mm-hmm.
that's my choice. I love Pizza Hut. So like when my brother actually visits for Christmas from Ottawa to come to Newfoundland, I'm like, he's like, "What do you want for Christmas?" I'm like, "I know this is going to sound super sad, but can you just bring home some Pizza Hut?" And he's like, "Man, that's a terrible idea," but he's like, "I'll do it." And I'm just like, "Yes, that's my Christmas wish.
Nice.
Just give me Pizza Hut. Pizza Hut's like my favorite type of pizza, especially stuffed crust." But
Nice.
yeah. So okay, so this we'll go with three more randoms one here. The next random one. Um, what is a place that you haven't visited but you'd like to?
There's a ton. I guess Australia
Oh,
is
really?
one.
Okay,
Yeah.
interesting. Okay, and why Australia?
Uh, Gorgeous and far enough away that's like I may not get there. Like, I may not get there. Like I'm more confident that I'll get to England, that
Yeah.
I'll get to Italy. I'm way more, I'm leaving out a ton of places, but yeah, I'm less confident that I'll actually get to like Australia and New Zealand. I really want
Wow.
to go to New
Okay.
Zealand as well.
You're making me think because you know what? It's funny because like in my world, it's like okay, I've been to Canada, I've been to the States, I'm good. If I go to see England or something, that's great. But like you gotta imagine, like it's kind of weird to think that there have been people out there that lived and never seen like certain parts of the world. You only see it through the news, or now we see it through like social media. But it's interesting. I feel like mine. I'd like to go to England. But at
Yeah.
the same time, I'm the type of person that doesn't like to travel. It's like when my parents are like, "We're gonna make a trip down to Florida. Do you want to come?" I'm like, "Fuck that." They're like, "But you like Typhoon Lagoon and stuff." I'm like, "Yeah, that's true." And then they're like, "But you like New York City. You want to go see SNL?" I'm like, "I do, but do I gotta travel?" And they're like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, that's how this works." I'm like, "Oh,
What about
maybe."
travel do you not like?
I don't know. I see. To me, it's kind of like my mindset towards it is I I can get a plane from Newfoundland to Nova Scotia. It's about an hour and a half, and then another one that's an hour and a half to Ottawa. I don't really mind that as much. It's just that I don't like being either in an air and feeling compact on a plane, like because I
Mm-hmm.
feel like we're flying and there's like 20 seats or whatever, and we're like I can't go anywhere. I have to stay here. Um, and even like I can distract myself with music and stuff, but I still kind of get that mindset where I'm like, holy fuck, like I can't phone anybody up here. I'm literally up here for an hour and a half trying to keep myself entertained.
Mm-hmm.
And then a train I don't mind as much because I feel like a train you can actually see the level, fields, houses.
You're on land.
Yeah, and but there's still a part of me that, when I was at university, there was a kid in my class. I didn't know him that well, but we had I think a train and a bus collided, and he ended up passing away. And like
Oh wow.
that to me, like now he's not again, he's not very close, but he was just a classmate. But it's just weird for like one day him in your class, and he's like 20 odd, same that you were. And he's not there the next day. And I was like, all the dude was doing was going to school and going home. And then boom, done. So I'm just like, there's a part of me that's like, I don't want to be boom and done. I kind of just want to be get me to where I'm going without the boom.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Scary.
yeah. But like I like how some people's mindsets, which I love this. Someone at my workplace a few years ago, her daughter was scared that it was like shortly after like 9/11 and they were making a trip. And she said, well, why are you concerned? And it's like the worst kind of parenting, but I thought it was funny where she's just like, we're all going together in a plane. So if we crash, big whoopee, we all go together. I'm just like, oh, that's great. That's lovely. Your daughter's like really concerned about flying, and your basically approach is, who gives a shit? If we go down, we're going down together. I'm like, you sing that in songs. You don't say that in person.
Not
It's
my
like
favorite. Not my
yeah,
favorite.
it's like a chain smoker. If we go down together. It's like, okay, chain smokers. Like, I love that you're bringing it to me in an upbeat format, but in real person, real life, no, we don't
I
go
don't think
down
they meant
together.
it literally.
No, exactly. If it's in real person, chain smokers, you're going down by yourself. I'm running. Yeah. Okay, so we got two more. The second last one they have. Um, oh yeah, this one's not bad. Other than because I'm gonna kind of reword it, but it's like other than music, what's another like passion that you have that you think if it wasn't music, you would have went after?
um, Design.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Really love anything design, like all forms.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see with the last one here. Just waiting for it to kind of populate. Oh, I don't like that one. All right, we'll go with this one then. Uh, if you could find yourself on any TV show, what TV show would you be, and like what kind of character would you play?
Ah man. Um, really,
It's a
like
tricky one. It's a tricky because you
it
got
is.
like
It
you
is.
kind of got to think of what TV show and then what character because you don't want to replace a character that's already there or be like one that's just a season in and then be like, oh yeah, we already have that character.
Yeah. I mean, you know how? So you know how like I'll use the show Friends as an example.
Love
Will
Friends. Yeah.
will use like um other celebrities to do like a cameo for like an
Yeah.
episode or two or what have you. I think I would be like more into that kind of a thing, like playing myself, in like a cameo sort of
Okay.
way. I'm really not a huge TV person. I guess other here's my answer is that's one thing that I would like totally be.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that'd be so cool. But also a show um um like The Witcher or something like that, where there's a lot of like you're playing a fictional character,
Yeah.
and the like I really want to be on like a set like that to see like the set design and like to see like the full like body makeup that you have to like you do to like get into character. Like I would love to do something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I think what I would do, like I like Friends, I like Boy Meets World. When I was smaller, I actually wanted to change my last name to Matthews because I wanted to be part of like the Matthews family. I was like, man, it's like I want to be Corey's brother. But for me, I think if I had to create like my own show or like whatever your own character, I want it to be like a PR show, like a comedy style, like the Office, but instead of focusing on like an office environment, you're public relations people, and like you're trying to help people like spin, like they're in shitty situations, and you're trying to like be the good PR person that like, because I think that would be like a funny show to do where it's like some like every week someone comes in or with
Yeah.
like Mariah Carey got herself in shit again. We got to kind of help her out. And then you're like, oh, fuck, what did she do this time? And then like the idea is like you're the guy that's supposed to be a genius, but you're also an asshole because you don't like celebrities. So it's almost like I'll help you, but I don't want to help you because I kind of want to see you suffer.
Yeah, there's a premise there. I can see that.
Yeah, it's almost like in the bottom of your heart you're a good guy, but at the same point you're like, we're kind of giving them by being the PR people and spinning their bad thing in a positive way. Are we really helping them? It's like no. And this guy sees through that, so he's kind of like, I'll help you because I got a heart. But at the same point, it's like I kind of want to make you suffer along the way. So like you realize, okay, I don't want to fucking do this again because I don't want to deal with him.
So what I'm hearing is that you want to write a show.
Yeah, I mean that's ideally. I did that as a project one year for school, and the guy, because the idea was, again, it's such a Canadian thing to do, but in a Canadian studies class for the final project of the year, they're like, oh yeah, come up with like your own Canadian identity because we don't have a fucking Canadian identity. I'm like, have you not gone elsewhere? People love us. We're polite. That's our identity. Case closed. Why are we so like, we're like little kids. We're like, oh my God, I need something. It's like, no, we know what we are. Shut up. But he asked us like, you can come up with a Canadian superhero. And I was like, fuck that. I don't want to do that. So I went to the teacher. I was like, can I just come up with my own TV show? And he's like, sure. He's like, but I'm going to have to grade you a little bit differently than everyone else. I was just like, all right, cool. Because at least I'm passionate about a TV show rather than you telling me to make a superhero. I just come in and be a ripoff of like Superman. I'd be like, instead of blue and red, it's red and white. He'd be like, it looks like Superman. I'd be like, just give me a fucking D. Give me a D and like get it over with. All right, so that's enough of the random questions. Melanie, I enjoyed having you on. I thought it was a lot of fun and a little bit of chaos, but that's usually how these things go. Was there anything else that you kind of wanted to add in or plug or have a conversation with?
And I think the big thing was just like getting out there and letting people know that there is new music coming, and I'm so excited about it. That's kind of where all my focus has been lately. So yeah, been in the studio working with crazy talented musicians and a producer that's great, and I'm really excited about it.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, hopefully that you know what it'd be. I'm going to put it on paper now. I think what we should do is at the end of 2023 revisit and see how things go. It'd be funny if you come out in 2023 at the end and be like, all right, so I did 5 more shows. I'm like, what the fuck happened? I was like, we had all these things planned. And you'd be like, yeah, well, life and I have other interests. I'd be like, good for you. You are a go-getter.
Sometimes those things come up. Sometimes that happens.
Yeah, it's fine. Like, I mean, there'll be a part of me that's like, what the fuck? But then you'd be like, but I'm so much happier. And then you'll post that you're happy on social media. And I'd be like, fuck her. I got to outdo her happiness now because I can't look at her highlight reel.
It stresses me out.
Yeah. It stresses him. That's how we're going to end this. Very stressful.
Yeah.
Everyone yell.
Great. I'm really glad for that.
That's going to do it for this episode of Tobin Tonight. Remember, you can find past, present, and future episodes on TobinTonight.com, Spotify, and iTunes. Follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, and leave a comment or two. For Tobin and myself, this is Jacob saying thank you for listening and good night.